Welcome. This is Becky Thomas Iyer, and this is podcast number 7, and I'm going to title it Moments That Take My Breath Away. But before I get started, I just wanted to share with you that I just got back from Huntington Beach, where I was able to speak at a mid-singles conference, singles who range in age from 31 to 45. I loved every minute of it. You know, many of them are right at that stage that they are realizing that they missed Italy altogether, or some who have divorced or widowed are making that transition from Italy to Holland, or the unexpected life. Now, if you're lost, stop and listen to the first podcast before you go any further, so that you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I couldn't help but think back to my mid-30s. Though I couldn't define my emotions at the time, I remember the angst and the anxiety, realizing I was in unfamiliar territory and traveling to a place that I never expected to go, Holland. Now, once I got here and started to get to know the people and everything, I embraced it and loved it and really saw the beauty of this land. But the transition is hard for all of us. When we go through a divorce or lose a loved one or first find out that we can't bear children or we'll be having a special needs child or whatever it is that sends us to Holland, it's a hard transition. I felt for these singles, not because some of them are going to Holland. Holland's amazing and I wouldn't trade this life for anything, but the transition is hard. I feel the same way when anyone goes to Holland. My heart breaks for them. But once they are through the transition and are immersed in Holland, I know they're going to love it. They are going to find joy and comfort in the people who are here, and they're going to see the hand of the Lord everywhere. They are going to love it. But they don't know that yet, just like I didn't know it when I made the transition. So I guess my point is that we need to be patient with ourselves and others as we or they are going through that transition. It is hard. They don't know what they don't know. And the day will come when they or we will look back and see the value of what we were going through. But first, getting off the plane in Holland is a bit daunting. Anyway, those are just some of my thoughts from this past weekend. There is nothing I love more than to share with people the beauty of Holland. I just love this place. Okay, so on with the podcast. Years ago, I was with a friend and we were walking through a store, and this store had all these cute little sayings that people have up in their homes. And I came across this saying that I've seen many times before, and it was this one that says, "Life is not measured by the breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away." And I looked at my friend and I said, I hate that quote. I've always hated that quote because I know what they're referring to. They're referring to the day that you got married, or they're referring to the day you had your first child, or when that child rolled over for the first time, or took its first steps, or said its first few words, or went to kindergarten the first time, or graduated from high school. And I know those moments they're referring to have to do with marriage and a family, and I didn't have any of that. And I said to my friend, if those are the moments that define our lives, well, then I haven't lived. And she was so sweet because she's like, Becky, don't worry about it. It's all overstated. There aren't really that many moments. And she was trying to make me feel good and everything. And after we left the store, I thought about my life here in Holland. And I thought about that quote. And I started to think that if that is how life is measured, then what are the times and the people who took my breath away? And as I started to think, so many stories came to my mind. I thought about a boy by the name of Andy Benford. He was a Down syndrome boy that we taught to swim when he was a little boy. He was about 3 years of age. Oh, he turned into a great swimmer. And as a teenager, he wanted to compete in the Special Olympics. The problem was, Andy didn't finish. Whenever he would swim across the pool, he would stop about 5 feet before he got to the edge, and he'd stand up or just stop. So he did this every single time. He was this amazing swimmer, but he just couldn't finish. So his mom brought him back to the swim school as a teenager to have a couple lessons on just finishing. And so Matt was his teacher, and Matt got him in the water and worked with him over and over again. Just finish. Just go to the wall and finish. Well, it was so cute because a couple weeks later, Andy came running into the pool area. He wanted to see Matt, his teacher. He ran to the back pool where Matt was teaching and another student at the time. And Andy had a gold medal around his neck. And he said, Matt, I got the gold. Oh, it was one of those special times. All those mothers that were sitting around that pool watching their child swim, I don't think there was a dry eye. It was one of those moments that took our breath away. I thought back to the time I met Sally and Chris Mart. Oh, they are amazing people. I had heard about them. They were young adults when they got married. He became a doctor. She was a nurse. In the first 7 years of their marriage, she had somewhere between like 11 or 14 miscarriages. Finally, they thought, well, you know what? Since we can't have kids, let's adopt. And because we both have medical backgrounds, let's adopt special needs kids, like highly special needs kids that no one else can really adopt. And so they adopted 17 highly special needs kids. And I'd heard about this family. And so I called Sally up and said, can I come interview you for this article when I was a columnist? And she says, well, I don't really have time for an interview, but come on over and just join us for dinner. So I went on over to their house and met Chris and Sally, and they were just busy feeding the kids. One of the first things they did was they introduced me to an elderly man that was in the neighborhood. His wife had just passed away, and they invited him to join them for dinner so that he had a place to eat. They went and they introduced me to each of the kids and told me what they had, and many were in wheelchairs, and they fed most of them, and I was in shock as I saw their time was completely consumed with caring for these children. And then Sally said to me, Becky, do you want to run with me over to the rehab center? We have a daughter over there with spina bifida, and I'd like to go say hi, take her a little bit of food. And I said, oh, that'd be awesome. So we hopped in the car, we started driving down the street, and she said, wait a second. She goes, there's an elderly couple in our neighborhood who both have cancer, and we usually swing in each night and do their dishes for them. Would you mind if we quick swing in and do their dishes? I said, not at all. I was in shock. I have never in my life met such selfless people. I even said to Sally, none of these kids will even be able to say thank you in this lifetime. She said, it's okay. That's not why we do it. These are God's children, and we just want to love and help them any way we possibly can. I've never forgotten Sally and Chris Mart and their family. They took my breath away. My nieces and nephews that are here in Utah are all adopted. And there have been many times over the years when I have thought about their birth moms and other birth moms who have placed their child in another home, knowing that that would be best for their child. And I think about how selfless that is. And it truly takes my breath away. One of my nephews, Riley, has Williams syndrome. I wish everyone could have a child with Williams syndrome. They are so beautiful, and they have so much love and kindness towards others. Well, Riley gets a whole lot of positive attention. Everyone is so good to him, and there's been many moments as he was growing up that took my breath away as I saw the kindness of others. But I'll never forget one time when Riley was playing his drums. His high school had a battle of the bands where they compete against other high schools in their bands. Well, they gave Riley a solo spot in the program, and Riley's a great drummer. He has never had lessons, and he is amazing at the drums. And so he was up there doing a performance, and I saw the kids in his class rush the stage and make him feel like a rock star. And it was just one of those moments that took my breath away. This last week, I was talking with a friend, and she was telling me about her special needs boy. When he was born, he was their first child, and when he was born, he was not going to live very long. The doctor said that with this particular disability, the longest anyone's ever lived was 3 years. Well, her boy Justin lived 14 years. He was the light of their lives. They went on to have several kids, and all the kids fell in love with Justin. He never walked, he never talked, he needed 24-hour care, but he was the love of their lives, and they all loved Justin. And she was talking about the day that he passed. And I'm going to read to you what she wrote to me, because I asked her to repeat it. so I would get all the details straight. It was beautiful. It was so touching. She said, "On the morning my sweet son Justin passed away, we were all dreading the time that the mortuary would arrive to take his precious body away. The reality of removing his body from our home was devastating. Justin required 24-hour care. The loss of his presence was more than any of us felt like we could bear. When the gentleman from the mortuary came to get him, we opened up our big double front doors. The morning light came flooding in, and we all followed them down the hall from our bedroom and out the doors to stand and watch as they slowly drove down our street. My son Michael was 11 years old at the time. Justin adored his brothers and sisters. They meant the world to him. Michael was struggling to even walk down the hall. My sweet dad put his arms around him and helped him to the front door. Our children have always found so much comfort in music and in the hymns. Our hearts were breaking. As I walked back into the house, Michael was on the piano playing, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." As I stood in my entryway, the message of that hymn hit me so powerfully. And I remember crying to my Heavenly Father and saying, "If this is what it takes to become nearer to Thee, I will do it." She said that hymn will never be the same to me. As Heather was sharing this story, I could relate to those thoughts and sentiments. If this is what it takes to get nearer to Thee, I would do it again and again, because I have felt that many times throughout my life. As Heather shared this story, it was truly one of those moments that took my breath away. I thought back to the hardest times of my life when I felt forgotten and got on my knees for comfort and perspective, and I got it. Those were truly moments that took my breath away. I had another such moment just a little over a week ago on Mother's Day. I was anxious about Mother's Day. This was the first Mother's Day that Daryl's kids would have without their mom. I was so worried about them, and I wanted them to know that I honored and respected and loved their mother. And so I texted each of them and I said, "This coming Sunday is Mother's Day, and we'd like to have you to dinner to honor and celebrate your mother. And I would love it if each of you came with a story or a memory of her." I just was anxious and nervous. I wanted them to feel comfortable. I thought it could be very awkward, and I didn't want it to be awkward. Well, Daryl's daughters came, each of them, with a little token for me, a little gift for me. And I couldn't believe it. I thought this is the day for their mom. And they stepped outside of themselves to make me feel special on this Mother's Day. It was truly one of those moments that took my breath away. It took my breath away when I met a girl who totally forgave her abusive father. It took my breath away when a friend of mine never spoke one word of negativity towards her unfaithful ex-husband. In this day of so much outspoken negativity, bullying, and hate and division, it really takes our breath away when there is such goodness and kindness. We see a lot of that in Holland. In Holland, there are so many tender moments where those in desperate need are being blessed with the love and help of others, where empathy is at its best because of the hard road that many have traveled, where judgments are put aside and love is unconditional because of the challenges we ourselves have faced. And people are stretched to the limit and still continue to give more, like the Mart family did. The strength that comes from those who pray and pray for certain blessings, but at the end of the day, even if they don't get them, they trust the Lord's timing and His will over their own. If life is measured by the moments that take our breath away, I have lived a full life. Oh, I love Holland. There is so much goodness, so many miracles. I really can't wait for all of you to get here. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I so appreciate all those who have taken my breath away. Have a great day.